Our topic for today is partnering to reduce crime in Pulaski County. You saw the numbers, you saw the data. Our panel here is amazing. We have a great group of men. They're all men. Isn't that something? I just realized that. I'm the only female. Well, I feel important. Anyway, we're going to have our chief of police to start. Tell us who you are, how you got here, one thing, and then we're going to go around the table. And we also have a guest who's in Paris, who is a part of EME. We're going to have him introduce himself along with the team EME. So, Chief, welcome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to visit us.
I'm honored to be here. My name is Keith Humphrey. I'm the 38th Police Chief for the wonderful city of Little Rock. I've been in law enforcement for 33 years. Little Rock has always been a intriguing place for me. It's always been a place ever since I set a goal to be a police chief. It's always been a city that I was very interested in and have an opportunity to work in. And so God has blessed me to work here. Love it here. Great city. The thing that I really hate to hear people say is that this is a violent city. I hate to always be known as the city of banging in the rock, and that's old. And so we are doing everything we can do as a police department, as a community, to leave those years behind us, and we move forward. And so that's a little bit about me. I'm a firm believer. Our vision for this city as a Little Rock Police Department is be one of the safest city in the state and one of our safest cities in the nation. And we do that through our partnerships and with our diverse community.
Thank you. All right, Professor Davis.
I'm honored to be here as well. My name is Edmund Davis, and I just feel honored to be amongst such just people who just kind of glow. There's an inner glow in this room, and so I really feel the glow coming from not just to my right, also across the way here, and also in that corner over there for the guys behind working things out. And I'm the director of the Derek Olivier Research Institute for the Prevention of Gun Violence at Arkansas Baptist College, and we're a young entity. And so, of course, we've been around since the demise of Mr. Derek Olivier. He was a freshman student back in 2012 who lost his life. Just one of those, what they say, random acts of violence, if you will. And so changing the spare tire, a football player. And I want to, recognize his mother, Miss Alma, and also his dad, Joseph Olivier. Right now, if they're on the podcast, hopefully and prayerfully that they are, that we're keeping true to what we said we would do 9 years ago, to be 9 years on the demise, or his death rather. And so it's not just about Derek, it's about Derek's symbolism to a greater problem, as Chief alluded to a few minutes ago about Little Rock having have this bad stigma. It's not just Little Rock, it's a lot of other cities that have these stigmas, whether it's in Tulsa, whether it's in Memphis, New Orleans, St. Louis, Dallas. We've got some issues, but we also have some great triumphs that we have. And so we want to help keep a balance. And that's what Dory does. We collect, we analyze, and we track data trends and finding ways to mitigate homicides, violence, if you will. And of course, we want to use evidence-based best practices moving forward. And we make recommendations as a research institute. We make recommendations to organizations, to clubs, to programs, whether they're in the city or in the state. That's what Dory does at Arkansas Baptist College. And so we look forward to building relationships, whether it's with Little Rock Police Department, the FBI here in the city, or, other law enforcement entities. But of course, we are not in the process of just trying to find ways to lock people up. We want to help solve issues before they happen and get to the tenfold of how this issue became an issue. And so we want to partner with schools, community leaders, educational institutions, definitely counselors and therapists. It's a wraparound process in order for us to solve some of these problems. But we have to all get after God first and foremost.
Awesome. Thank you. Don't start preaching up in here. All right. But thank you so much for being here. And you speak of triumph, EME, empowering our environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So EME is here. I don't know how you guys want to introduce yourselves, how you want to start. I do want to acknowledge we do have a part of EME behind the scenes production. Charlie, right? He over there. So I don't know how you guys want to do it. Introduce yourselves. Tell us who you are, what you do, and all that good stuff. And then we're going to dive into some good questions to the meat of it all.
All right. Thank you, Miss Shonda. I'm gonna go with the boss say. The boss say he want me to go first, so here I go, Chuck. I'm Charlie Mack, but my name is Charles Benson. I'm president and one of the co-founders of EME. EME stands for Empowering My Environment LLC. We're a group of men that have started a business to stop the violence in the city of Little Rock and to decrease it at an alarming rate. We think we can do that because we have once been out there in the streets and been part of some of the things that were been wrong with the streets. So we know that we have solutions because we have hands-on activity and we communicate with the youth that are still out there. So we still have a voice in the streets and we have families out there. I'm right now in Paris. I'm Paris, France, so I'm on Zoom view. But I'll be with y'all in a minute and we'll be working on that stuff.
I
hand in
know.
hand. But EME is a group of men that see the problem in the city, and we came together and Turtle brought us together and put it down, and we've just been learning and growing ever since. And we've been together about a year. It'll be a year this month, right, bro? It'll be a year. So thank y'all for letting us come to this meeting and sit down. But I'm Charlie Mack.
And thank you for your time. And what time is it in Paris?
Let me look at my clock.
yeah.
It's 7:30. It's 7:30.
Oh, okay.
It's 7:30.
In the evening. Okay. So
Yeah,
thank you so
7:30
much.
p.m.
All right. Who's next? Caleb.
All right, I go next. My name is Caleb Glason. I'm a member of EME as well. I'm also a licensed minister. I'm a firm believer. I love people. So I got in this business. My brother brought us in. Like I said, when we first started, we just wanted to stop the violence in Little Rock. We wanted to do something to stop the violence. And we all came together with different ideas, and we are still here today, man. I once, like my brother was saying, I once was out here with these guys. I'm still on the scene with them, but I'm not doing what they do. I try to be a light to them to change. And I just, I want to see these people. Like I got this memo, I say, put the guns down, put your hands up, but it's peace to come together and just love one another, man, because it's crazy out here and I want to help. So that's why I became a member, is to help people, to show God through me, because I know that's what we all supposed to be doing at the end of the day. So that's why I'm here.
Miss Shonda, I forgot to say something. EME is also a podcast and apparel company. We all have hoodies. Turtle got on one of our hoodies. I got one of our hoodies on. Charlie Rock got one of our t-shirts on.
I ain't worried today.
Go ahead and use my alliance to plug your product. That's what's up. All right.
It's a business. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right, we got you.
Yeah.
All right, Antoine.
How y'all doing? I'm Antoine Turtle Jones, man.
Turtle.
I'm a resident of Little Rock. Little Rock's my city. I love it here. I was born and raised here. My family's from here. My grandmother's from here. I mean, on down, I'm Arkansas. You know what I'm saying? I am a Razorback. Man, I started this journey like in 2006. I was going through things. I ended up losing a child back then, like a little bit after Christmas, and I just knew I needed a change. You know what I'm saying? So I did it through education. You know what I'm saying? I kind of figured like that's what I was lacking for me. My experience in the street, I never, you know what I'm saying, took education serious. I was always a kid that went to alternative schools. My dad wasn't around. My mom worked all the time and didn't pretty much put her rules down. So I was freelancing as a child, you know what I mean? So, man, it came an opportunity where I could enroll in college. So I went in, you know what I'm saying, and did that for a few and found good resources, felt comfortable, you know what I'm saying? So I ended up taking college real serious, you know, and I just thought that by me doing that, that's something I need to bring to my communities and show them that people like them can get up and make a difference, you know what I'm saying? Get up and go to school, get up and work, find a trade, meet people, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people in the communities don't get out here and take the time out to go find people and to meet people. I really let people know what's going on, because I noticed that in this business, a lot of our people that can help really don't know what's going on into the cities until they get out and they talk to somebody and somebody get to tell them what's happening and how these streets really are. So, you know, I came together and we all came together. Restore Hope found me. I was found out by a group which made me a life coach. They ended up certifying me. I got a lot of titles. I was created. They ended up making me a life coach. I ended up doing that for Restore Hope, working in probation office. I've counseled, you know what I'm saying? Took therapy class. I've been through therapy myself, you know what I mean? To show people that you can do it. You know what I'm saying? My thing is if I show them, I don't want to tell somebody to do something that I ain't never been through. So I try to lead by example. You know what I'm saying? I'm a president of the Dory unit, which came from Arkansas Baptist. Dr. Fitz here, shout out to the Fitz. You know what I'm saying? He was like one of my mentors when I came home from the penitentiary, and he showed me what route to take. You know what I'm saying? He gave me a vision and a dream. You know what I'm saying? And I did that. You know what I'm saying? I took my dream and my vision serious, and I crunched down on it, and I tried to become a better man. You know what I'm saying? So that's what Fitz gave me. He taught me that you can become a better man. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be a gangster to be no man. You don't have to get in trouble to be no man. You can be a man being good and protecting your city and loving on the people in your city and thriving and do something better and change that narrative of my city just being for banging in Little Rock, because we bigger than that. We ain't just banging in Little Rock down here. We got other jewels that come out of this. We play ball, we educated, we sing, we rap, we do a lot of things down here. You know what I'm saying? Educationally, that's good for the city. I'm a founder of EME. You know what I mean? That's a group that come together to stop violence in the city. We create partnership, and we actually a bridge for people, elites, to touch hands with people who in poverty. You know what I'm saying? Or people to touch hands with people that they never would have even communicated with. You know what I'm saying? Because communication run a long way in the business that we in. If we get a communication with the community and we start to communicate more, then we'll get an understanding, and we'll start respecting each other. We'll start, like my dad said, pull your britches up. We'll start being better people. We pull our britches up. You know what I'm saying? And start talking to each other. And I'm just that's who I am, man. I'm here. I'm
He
just
just
here.
gave us a whole story. And now he's going bio.
That's tight right there.
And let's not forget, like I said, we do have someone behind the scene. He does not want to be on camera. I'm gonna have him just walk over here just to see his face. Charlie, come on. Charlie Rock, Charlie Newsom. Just introduce yourself. EME. He's not gonna talk. Anyway,
Guy.
so we're gonna go ahead and dive into some questions, and we have some things.
Before we
prepared.
do,
Oh, go ahead, sir.
I want one of those sweatshirts, man.
There you
Sweatshirt.
go. We have some in here too.
All right, I was sweatshirt,
got a couple.
t-shirt. All right,
Yeah.
yeah, all
So
right.
there you
We'll
go.
link up.
You made a sale all the way in Paris.
See what
On
I
the
do?
100 Family Alliance.
I'm also the marketing director of EME. I'm also that too.
You have a lot of titles.
International.
That's what's up. All right. So we're going to get started with just some questions that we prepared. And you guys feel free to just jump in and answer the questions. And for those of you that are on the Zoom, if you do have questions for our panel, you can put those in the comment section. We may or may not get to it. We just want to respect their time. So we are going to get to these questions though that are on my phone. How about that? But anyway, here we go. So almost half of all of our parents that we serve in 100 families, you saw the data, they have been convicted of a felony, and actually 2 out of 3 have spent time in our jail or in our prison system. So most often they originally, they run into trouble at a young age, right? So viewing the data, it allows us to see how poverty, homelessness, drug, alcohol use, mental health, they all play a part in the crime rates. So do you guys see the social economic factors contributing to the crime that we have here in the city of Little Rock?
I may. I think it can. I think in some areas that it does. I'll share a story with you. We were having some, we still are, but we were having there for a while a rash of shootings, which we still are. I mean, that's just facts. We identified a couple of young kids that 21-year-old young men. We wanted to sit down and have a talk with them and say, okay, help us understand. And we think we know what's going on, but help us understand.
Mhm.
And these kids, really sharp kids, good kids. You say, Chief, this is the deal. It's the lack of programs. It's a lack of hope. It's a lack of, if I look on TV and I see somebody rapping and they're driving a Bentley, then I'm going to do that. But then again, what's happening is a lot of the rap music has been offensive to other neighborhoods and stuff like that. So that's what we're finding. But what the main thing we found out was, to the kids out here, there's a perception that kids don't want to work, especially young Black kids don't want to work.
Mhm.
And he said, Chief, this is what I'm going to tell you. That's not true. He said, I'm a young man and I've put in 25 job applications. And so I said, let me get this right. You're not one of these kids that want to get rich quick. He said, no. He said, I just want a job. And he said, I've gone to McDonald's, Burger King's, Targets, Walmart, and I put job applications in and I haven't got a call back. So I've started asking him, how were you dressed?
Mhm.
Pair of slacks and a white shirt. Okay, that's fine. Even if you have a pair of jeans, whatever, just go in and present yourself. He said, but the problem is when you do that, when you've done the right thing and you've gone and you tried to put in and nobody is receptive. He said, because just think about this. A lot of the kids out here just want some money to buy a pair of shoes.
Mhm.
They want some money to help their mom with a light bill. But when you don't have that option and you don't have anybody who's you believe has been receptive of what your needs are, then you feel as though there's no hope. And if you have no hope, then what else do you have but the streets? And so I think it is, and I think a lot of it's also perception,
Yeah.
because I'm a firm believer that for every situation where you can tell me socioeconomic issues contribute, I can give you 10 cases where it doesn't contribute to violent crime. But I think it's that broken windows theory that people believe that if you don't care about your area, why should anyone else?
Right.
And so, I do believe there are some truth to that socioeconomic contribution, but I don't believe that's all the problem.
Right.
But I do believe there's some.
Right.
But I don't think it's the total issue.
Okay. You
I
want to
I
wait?
heard you mention that you had to tell the guy about the suit. See, I noticed too, a lot of people with jobs, they don't know how to how can I say it, how to approach
How to present themselves.
Hold on just a second. I'm so sorry. If you could all mute, please. Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Sorry, Matt. Never mind. Go ahead.
A lot of
Don't know how to present.
themselves on interviews. Like that's important. Like first thing I knew was, let's get casual dress.
Mhm.
But I didn't know after the interview I needed to follow up on a call, or I needed to let the people, see me do, the work, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's another thing people
Life
need
skill,
to do.
basic life, basics. That's basic stuff.
A lot of our kids need that out there.
But we
life skill
assume
training.
they do know that.
Right.
But they don't.
But they don't.
Nah.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know how
And
to
that's-
approach an interview.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many kids don't know how to iron.
Right.
Mhm.
How many kids don't know you brush your teeth twice a day?
Mhm.
Kids that don't know, hey, you deodorant. I mean, just basic stuff that we take for granted.
Yeah.
They don't know that.
Right. And it's so true. Speaking of it, because I experienced, I remember a younger guy I was helping out, and I took him to an interview, and I said, like, just eating in the Popeyes, watching him, and he's 23, but he didn't know, like, the way the man was talking to him for the manager, the way he was just carrying himself and talking. Yeah, I know this. He wanted the job. He didn't know how to just present himself. The way he was dressed, I was just like, dang,
That's normal for him.
he never been to an interview to just know how to.
Some people
get with it like
perceive that as aggressive. But
Yeah,
that's
that
not
was just him.
aggressive.
Yeah,
That's
he
just-
really was determined to work. But
right.
he didn't know how to do it. And I
Cultural
remember
thing.
even being incarcerated, we had a class that taught us that as grown men, like, this is how you gonna go in the interview, and they was teaching us that.
Mhm.
And a lot of people need that out here too, though. That type of life skills.
Basic,
Present yourself,
basic
right, basic
skills.
things.
That's it.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yes.
All right. So, at what point do those that are caught up in like lower level crimes, like drug charges and theft, increase to more violent crimes? Like, is there an intervention that can come along that way to stop the escalation of the seriousness of the crimes?
You know what? I'm gonna say this from my point of view. I don't think there's a formula that says that you start off here and you end up here, because there are individuals that have one day just decide they're going to do something horrific.
Right.
They may not have done anything what's called lower level. Then there's individuals that have started up here that have actually changed their lives and become more positive. Then there's the individuals that may have smoked a joint. They've never gone above smoking a joint. So I don't think there's a formula that says if you do this, you're going to graduate to this.
No,
I think
absolutely.
it's based on it. I don't think there's a formula that says that. People will say there's statistics. Well, show me those statistics, because I strongly believe that a lot of it is based on the individual mindset. And I do believe there's those individuals that get caught up in the system and they feel they don't have a way out. But I don't think there's a process. I don't think there's anything that says, oh my goodness, you smoked a joint, now you're gonna end up being a drug lord. I don't think there's anything. Or, hey, you may have got into a fight, now you're gonna be a serial killer. I don't think there's anything out there. I think it's based on individual. I think there could be some climate, some environmental things there, depending on where you're, how you're raised and things like that. I think, we talk about mental health being hereditary and things like that. I think there's some things there, but I don't think that's a constant. I don't think that's constant, that it's always going to end up like that.
Right.
I think poverty brings
I
violence.
agree. Right.
Say it again.
I think poverty brings violence. I think the statistics show that the more there's poor people in the same area and under the same circumstances, there's a lot more violence, because everybody has the crab in the barrel mentality. They all want to get out, or they all want to have more than their neighbor. So I think if we alleviate more of the poverty with education and incentive programs to help these young brothers, because I'm talking as a black male. So I know, and by my experience, I know what black males and young black males talk about and have experienced. I think poverty, if we alleviate the poverty and add more resources and opportunities into these communities and environments, that the crime rate and the violence will die down exponentially. I really believe that. I believe that the more that we have programs directly to the problem. I'm not talking about programs that beat around the bush of the problem and dance around the problem. I'm talking about problems that need to be directly talked about and directly fixed. Solutions that go directly to problems, like you guys said, jobs. Okay, that's a good thing, but we're talking about more career and trade, long run things. That education, that's cool, but we also got to give them, while you're going to school, you got to also have to have money to live and pay your bills. It's incentives, because I think that if you say, okay, stop selling drugs, what are you going to do help him do when he stops selling drugs?
What do you replace it with, huh?
Right.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
And that's what these neighborhoods actually need. They need replacement programs, because the streets are always going to call. They're always going to call young people. They're always going to invite them. They're always going to recruit. What are we going to do to better the streets recruitment? What are we going to do? That's what we have to come up with.
Right.
And I just see like in the streets, come from role models. A lot of kids are followers. They doing a lot of following in the streets. So if you got a community if you like sitting outside and y'all drink, smoke, y'all toting guns, and y'all kicking up crime, then that's pretty much how that person gonna turn out if he hanging around those kind of individuals. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people some people have to change their communities where they at. Or some people got to be strong enough to just say no and go figure out another way and change the company they're around. But I think we need to tackle more on the role models in these communities, and the leaders in these communities, because they're being misled out there. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why a lot of kids are pulling this trigger wrongly and doing a lot of bad things, because they don't have nobody to steer them in the right direction. If you like I'm not seeing my my local entrepreneur every day training me. I'm seeing somebody that's in poverty, like Charlie Mack saying, training me that ain't having nothing, that's making sure you don't have nothing because he don't want to see you ahead. You know what I mean? And it's dragging people around. So I think we need to get more community leaders, put more people in power that they can look up to. Like we don't have nobody out here we can look up to.
I want to give some input as it relates to what Charlie Mack was saying over there in Paris, buddy. And everybody say one word, say gumbo.
Gumbo.
Okay, y'all know what gumbo is. Gumbo. Yes. Follow me quick. Gumbo is a dish that they serve in South Louisiana. We all know there's different variants to gumbo. And
Right.
the first time I had gumbo was about 20 something, almost 30 years ago in the Third Ward, New Orleans. And of course, my first roommate at Grambling, he put in, well, his mom and dad put in a series of ingredients in this stew.
Right.
And at that time, I was a meat eater back then. And so, of course, he put in crab legs, sausage. They put in their
Shrimp.
rice, put in their shrimp. Exactly. They put in sausage. There was a number of things. But one thing, even as an African-American man, I just don't get down with spicy food. I'm one of the few brothers that don't get down with spicy food. Watch this, Mac. And so
I don't like
that
spicy.
gumbo, right. So I ate it. And, you know, of course, it was a culinary delectable. Yes, it was. And so I use that analogy because when we're talking about just one element being the case of elevated rates in crime, that's pretty much inaccurate. Not saying that poverty is not a factor, because you're looking at somebody who used to be homeless in 1985, 86, 87. I would say between 86 and 88, my father and my mother kept a job. They were always supporting us. My mom was a waitress. My dad had side jobs here and there. But I think the fatherless home is more of a bigger factor to criminality than poverty. And I say that only because everybody that lived on the block where I lived at back in West Philly, all of our dads were at home. We all, half of us turned out okay. The other half, another story.
Right.
But of course, that father-filled element versus the fatherless element is just as critical as that
It
poverty
is.
factor. Because look what happened in the 1930s versus what happened in the 1990s. The biggest factor is 60% of our homes didn't have the dads in the 90s. And so versus in the 1940s, my dad was born in 1942 and his dad was there. And of course, my great grandfather. But my point in saying all this is that in that gumbo and that stew, you've got joblessness, you've got fatherless homes, you've got the mental instability, you've got high school dropouts. That's all in that stew, in that gumbo when it comes to the elevated criminal aspect or element. So poverty, yes, it is an ingredient.
Right.
It definitely is. I was raised in poverty again. Homeless for 2 years. I slept at train stations and failed the 4th and 5th grade. This is the year, and Big Brother can attest to this more. That was the year Oliver North was on trial for the Iran conflict.
Absolutely.
I remember I watched that. That's the same year Doug Williams won the Super Bowl, 1987. Dad put a picture up on the wall, and I didn't know I would meet Doug Williams 10 years later at Grambling, eating at the cafeteria with him. But that's God's business. But getting back to this gumbo, y'all, looking at poverty and looking at how we came and looking at what the Little Rock Nine did, most of them lived, in poverty. Of course, looking at some of the things that they did for Black History Month back in 1926, where Carter G. Woodson, Dr. Carter Godwin Woodson, who started Negro History Week, those people who followed, exactly. He, of course, talked about how poverty is something that it can bring you together, it can tear you apart. Right. Most of us as African Americans, and of course, even as Caucasian Americans or European Americans who lived in poverty or had that economic disadvantage, it wasn't always the gesture, or wasn't always a pivotal fact to be a criminal, because again, that's one element, but we didn't have as many brothers dying in the streets in the 1930s and 40s. When we had segregation, we lived in much more poverty in 1932 than we did in 1992 or in 2020. Right. And so, of course, I wanted to bring that point up to my awesome sauce student, Mr. Charlie Mack.
Right. I wanted to speak on this topic too, and you are totally right. Nothing but God, because that's what I was gonna say after him, but you had to speak on something. Not having a father in the home plays a big part. I was just recently talking to a young man who's facing some trouble now, and I was asking him like, what seemed to be the problem? And he was telling me like, man, he was like, I didn't have no father. growing up, my mama, she paid more attention to my sister. Like, man, I went to the streets, man. And that's what he did. He was just telling me this the other day. And I've heard that from so many people, and even looking at myself, not having a father in the home, and the father I did have was abusive. I went to the streets, and the streets led me. And that's has so much to do with it. Not having a big brother, somebody that's steering you the right way. It's so many people steering them the wrong way. And like we said, they looking at the rappers, they looking at all this, they looking at the guns, they seeing this designer stuff, and that draws their attention. But at the end of the day, it's so much behind it that they don't know about. They need big brothers in community. We need a program with big brothers that could go into a home and take a brother under their wing and be an example for him. If we had like real big brothers programs that would get people, younger guys under their wing and teach them the real way of life, because the streets teaching them wrong, because you don't have a father, you don't have a brother in the home. Yeah, the streets raise.
But EME does that for our community in War One. We do that for War One.
Right. And even with my own, when through the separation with me and my son's mom, I seen how my kids act because I'm not there, and they just babies, like fool. But when daddy come around, they get right.
Yeah.
And we was talking about that just as I was like, I gotta come home. I was like, I gotta come. My kids is out, like I see it. But when I'm there, they go crazy on her. But when daddy home, they right. They need their father around them, and that's starting off little things now, but it become big when you get in these streets. Right. It become big, little stuff when they babies, but not having that male role model, man, that plays a big part.
But growing up as a black dude, we don't penitentiary, we think we going there. You know what I'm saying? So we don't really care like
and to some, it's an honor.
Yeah,
right.
It's a rite of passage. It's a rite of passage.
OG, or not only am I OG, but my uncle is there. Right. My daddy is there.
Right.
So that's he get 3 meals.
They don't look at it. We got a black chief that came from nothing and then worked hard all his life and then became somebody successful, then became a director, then became, we got to start putting the people focus on the real leaders.
But you know what? A lot of the people who look like us. Let me back up. There are some people who look like us that are in our positions. They're ashamed of where we came from. I tell people
don't need to be
right, and this is what I tell people. So people ask me, "Where you from?" I say Dallas. Charlie Mack asked me.
Yeah,
I'm from West Dallas.
Yeah.
That means a lot.
Yeah.
When you say Dallas encompasses hundreds of miles.
Right.
But when you tell people I'm from West Dallas, and you explain the logistics and the demographics of Dallas, of West Dallas, and the history of West Dallas, and the history of Oak Cliff, and the history of South Dallas, then you see why I'm so proud of where I'm from. So I'll never say I'm just from Dallas. I'm gonna break it down. Say I'm from West Dallas.
Right.
So that's why here in Little Rock, I'm at home.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it feels just like where I'm from. So a lot of people are ashamed of where they're from. And I tell people, you should never be ashamed of where you came from.
Right.
A lot of people can learn from that.
That's right.
They can. You're right.
Yes. I mean, that's sometimes that's a testimony to somebody.
Right.
Your history and how you've overcome triumph, like you said, that can truly help somebody. So I don't think you should ever be ashamed either.
And that's why I understand Director Richardson's push on getting more, having a residency. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. It's difficult to do that, but I understand why he says we want more people from Little Rock to be a part of our city government, to be a part of our entrepreneurial opportunities. I get it. I totally get it.
If you look at Little Rock, man, Little Rock been like top in crime for years. You know what I'm saying? Like we've been dealing with crime since before me, you know what I'm saying? And I'm in my 40s, you know what I mean? So, gangs been around. We got to, you know what I'm saying? So we, like I say, we got to try to get control of these leaders and who controlling these blocks.
We do.
And let people get the focus on you guys and show them that they can be a director and still be cool. Like it's cool to be a director. It's cool to go to work and become a chief. You know what I'm saying? You ain't a sellout just because you got a law enforcement job.
Right.
But telling your story, and your origin helps too.
Right.
How you got here.
Yeah.
I agree.
Because all of us are 3 seconds away from making the wrong decision. Because that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Everybody at this table You get to thinking about, you could have been in the car with somebody, didn't have to do
Right.
things. So there are just so many things. And then the other
Mhm.
thing, as a police chief, I can't judge you.
Yeah.
Right.
For me to judge you because you've had this happen in your life, that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's wrong. Let's talk about, because I'm learning from you all.
So if I'm from a community and I'm what position would I come to you and what could you help as a chief?
Mhm.
What are the things y'all provide to a
Mhm.
community?
So the main thing is we have to make sure our officers have the emotional intelligence to understand that everybody who
Exactly.
lives in a certain area, who came from a certain area, who may have been incarcerated, are not bad people.
That's right.
That's the first thing we have to do.
That's
And then
good.
we have to push those jobs. You may not be able to work in the police department because of a lot of restrictions when it comes to our state computer system and things like that. If you have a
A
conviction,
felony or
that's
what-
just
yeah.
that's just fact. You can't be a police
Right.
officer. You may not be able to work in, but we could push you over to the city,
Right.
and
Mhm.
there's a reentry
Reentry.
program,
Mm-hmm.
and say this is what we can do. We don't have the right to turn as a police officer. If I say, hey man, I'm looking for a job, what can y'all do for the city? What can I do for the city? The worst thing we can do is tell people right off the bat, well, you can't be a police officer.
Right.
You can't work in communication, but this is what we can do, man. We got a good man, Dwight Prison, who's
Mm-hmm.
over our reentry program. Let me get you his number
Right.
and see what we can do.
Right.
That's what we can do as police officers. Or, hey, let me go talk to such and such who's hiring.
Mm-hmm.
Let me direct you here. That's what we can do. We don't do enough of that. We focus,
Right.
we shut down, officers shut down. Not all of them, but you do have those officers that shut down when they learn somebody's been in jail.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's got a record. You know,
Mm-hmm.
somebody's awaiting a trial date. They shut down, and the bottom line is, well, you can't work anywhere. So we have to change. That's my thing, is being connected to the city as a police chief and find out who's hiring. Ask those questions. When I go to these roundtable discussions with the representatives from Walmart, representative from Target, representative from Amazon, hey, are y'all hiring? Okay, this person may have had a record. Is that okay? Absolutely.
Mm.
That's how we get out there. I might not be able to help you work for the police department, but I can get you out there to Amazon, to
Right.
Walmart, to places like
Yeah.
that.
Using your resources. to
Using
help
my
others.
resources.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
We don't do that. We shut down,
Mm-hmm.
and we basically, well, you can't do this. We only think one dimensionally
right.
and not thinking, multi-dimensional.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Another
Go ahead.
component I want to add to it is mentorships. I think we
Yes.
have a lack of mentorships all the way across the board. And, we try to do that, not just at ABC, Arkansas Baptist College. I know Chief does it, as chief of police, and all of us as men and also ladies, we do it as well. I think a lot of what we see out in the streets comes from broken relationships. And of course, once you're a part of that, and we all have some broken relationships, all of us, I'm sure, at some point in our lives, we've been involved with a relationship that has been maybe something that's not the same as it used to be. And so living in, I guess, the last 30 years of my life, 3 different states, the last almost 20 years here, the other 2 were, of course, back home in Louisiana. Before I left each state, I wanted to make sure I didn't have any broken relationships before I left these states.
Mhm.
To make sure there was no beef, to make sure I didn't have any criminality out there that I didn't know about. Little things like that when you move to a different state. I think telling young people to take care of your business from that aspect in a friendly, positive way,
Mm.
I think is something that's essential for us to continue to build relationships, which includes mentorship. I think we need to do that from a standpoint where it's unilateral. There's not just one way to do it. We can focus on building relationships and having that mentorship component. I think that's needed. And our elders, sometimes we have to seek out our elders. A lot of times they look at us sagging, got a hat turned to the side or backwards. We get dubbed as being someone who's negative. That's not always the case.
Yeah.
So of course we have to sometimes reach out to our elders. And speaking of elders, I want to, pay homage to the life of City Director Irma Hendricks, who lost her life
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah, give an honor,
Yeah.
glory to her. She's been a mentor to a lot of people here in the city,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
yeah, she was one for me and my wife for a number of years.
She was
So
90.
I think 91.
91.
Lived a
Yeah.
long
91.
life.
Mhm.
Wow.
Good lady.
But she was an example of a mentor
Yeah.
Yeah.
to a lot of people here in the city, not just in politics, but in various communities in and outside of Ward Number 1.
A lot of people
Mm.
had problems with her because she told the truth.
Yeah.
She wasn't afraid to tell the truth.
She was from our ward.
And
Oh,
when they do,
yeah.
Yeah.
She told
Which,
that.
like, she was like one of the old grandmothers, you
Yeah,
know,
she was tough.
don't keep it real.
Yeah.
She kept it
Yeah.
100, keeping it 100.
But mentors is important out there, man. That's like one
Yeah.
of the main ingredients lacking out there on the streets. Mentor.
Right, and even being, going back, we are, we are believers at this table. A lot of people we talked about on the podcast before, they showing a lot of these youngsters now, they ain't studying no church, no religion, no God, and that
Mhm.
plays a big part because I'm sure all of us grew up. I'm on it with that foundation, and a lot of times now, me being a minister, a lot of churches is different from when I grew up. So a lot of people showing church, but more people, getting involved and out there in the community, like we said, mentors, showing the love of God to people, because a lot of people don't. It's about different things now. To go out there in the community like Christ really did and be active and showing people love and food drives and stuff that we do, showing these rough neighborhoods love, that matter because people see that. They think
Yeah.
they forgotten about people. No, we don't want to go over there and have them, but we'll go over here. And they need to see that people care about them. Like
That's-
people need to see love because we don't get that out there in them streets. The
Yeah.
streets
Like-
dirty out here.
Like
See, one
something-
of my mentors
Right.
sitting right at the table right now, Professor
Yeah.
Ed Davis. That's one of my mentors.
Yeah,
I went to,
Yeah.
I started
doing?
at Arkansas Baptist in 2007, and me and Professor David had beef, man, because I just thought he was just talking over. He didn't know what he was talking about. So I had to argue with him every time we had a class. I argued with him, but he started making sense, and I was like, he called me to the side. He was like, people listen to you. You're a leader. He said, why you always talking crazy to me in class, man? Man, we got to talk, and we got so cool. And he opened up doors for me. He taught me so much about Black history that I did not know. He made me proud to be a Black man because I started researching the things that he talked about. And we've been buddies ever since then. I don't know that man for too long now. That's like my brother.
Hey, but Charlie Mack, let me say this. That's what's missing.
Right.
You don't have people that will allow you to voice your opinion and then have that conversation.
Yeah,
That's mad.
Like he and smile.
because people gonna clap back. You
Right.
have people that will clap
I'm
back. quick.
I'm an adjunct, man, and that's one of the things I tell
Yeah.
my people. Man, be open. Just be
Right.
be respectful. I want your honest opinion. You don't find very many men to do that.
Right.
They
Nah.
I'm the professor. You
Mhm.
shut
Yeah.
up. Because
Yeah.
You shut up.
He
I know more
could
than
have
you
done
know.
that. He could have
He
done
could
that.
have.
But he didn't.
But he
He respect me as a man.
He-
And he respected me, and I had to respect him. I said, man, I am talking too much to my professor.
He made-
Let me leave him
made you-
alone, man.
He had to gain your respect. He made you feel
Exactly.
comfortable.
That's what he
And
did.
that's what law enforcement and our big people, we gotta
Yeah.
make the community feel like they come, like such as you coming in with your head turned backwards.
Yeah, as
You
a
know what I'm saying?
professor,
That made
you
me
think,
feel
Right.
yeah.
like, okay, he cool. Like I can talk to him.
Yeah,
you know
he's
what I'm saying?
cool.
It ain't like if I'm going in an interview and I just gotta stay straight and I gotta do this. And that's how some people feel when they with their leaders.
People have to see
know what I'm
you real,
saying?
man.
Yeah.
You real. That's how they, I mean, I went through the
Real.
deal. I kept my cap on backwards,
Yeah.
man. I've been told don't wear my slides because I don't have the prettiest toe, but I mean that's where I'm comfortable, when I'm
Yeah.
off. I
Right.
want people to see. Man,
You
I'm
like your bees. See, you, they
Hey,
got
man.
you
Oh, I
know,
love.
Hey, man, I'm
yeah.
just-
They say, come on in.
Hey, man. Hey,
I
listen,
love 'em.
listen,
I
let
love
me
those.
just say this. You know what? You just got to be real.
You gotta be real,
do.
out
Yeah.
here, man.
Gotta be real,
That's
man.
what I tell people that all the time. That's where I was raised.
Mm-hmm.
As a Black man, I was told to be real, be straight up with people.
And that's why
You
we
shake
get
a man's hand, you shake a man's hand firm, you look a man in the eye.
Mm-hmm.
You allow a man to you leave people with their dignity. I've arrested capital murder suspects, and I've done it respectfully.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sir, this is what I got to do. I ain't going there with all these bad words and stuff like that. Don't agree with what you did. Listen, we're going to jail. That's just fact.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I left a person with their dignity. You always leave a person. It's going to, and I tell young police officers this: wearing a badge and a gun is a lot of authority. And they don't think of it this way. I said, let me explain. I say, you're in a position where you control a person's freedom
Right.
from the traffic stop or any kind of contact you make with this individual. You're controlling whether they are able to leave or not. I said, you can go in a man's house and
Mhm.
you can go in this man's house and you can tell this man, you ain't moving.
Mhm.
Right.
You can search this man and God forbid you take a life.
Right.
I said, there's a lot of authority. You can never abuse that authority.
Right.
Right.
And so that's how we grow in this relationship and where people trust us.
Right.
All people want to be respected.
Right.
That's it.
Do unto others.
Don't walk into if you're I tell people this, if you're a white officer, don't be going up talking about what's up, bro. Just talk to, I mean, you ain't
Talk
gotta,
normal.
there's no certain way you gotta fit in, man. You just
Be
be
yourself.
you and be
Be you.
yourself.
Right.
It's like I can't go into a Hispanic community and say, what's up, SA? I just can't, that's
Mhm.
You
be
can't do
yourself,
that.
man. You can't do that. Just be yourself,
Uh,
man. You don't have to change. That's where that emotional intelligence comes in.
Right.
And I tell young brothers that too, man, be yourself, man.
Right.
You don't have to be a certain way. Just be yourself, man.
Right.
You know.
That's why so many people love me because I'm gonna be myself.
You will. That's
I'm gonna be
Caleb.
myself, but I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna
Right.
be myself, and that's
We're gonna wrap up. We're gonna wrap up with this last question. I guess once we know the cause of the crimes, we can look more deeply into some solutions. So from each one of you, what are some solutions being worked on to reduce crime?
Going back.
Anybody can go.
You know.
Okay, building relationships.
Mhm.
You know, you can't just lock up everybody. You know,
Right.
it comes from the church. It comes from educators
Yep.
in education. It comes from nonprofit sector. It comes from those big business banks downtown. When you look at Little Rock skyline, it's always a bank at the top of that, whether it's Simmons, Regions. That's where I go, all the cities that I've gone to. And don't take my word for it. I always go to these cities with these big skyscrapers. Most of them are financial institutions. So, of course, getting back to them, they've got the money. Some of them got the know-how, and they can help empower and help, change the trend of these negative interactions. And so, of course, with the fiscal footprint in the neighborhoods. So, of course, business opportunities as well. So that also parents, and of course, people who have been in trouble before, who have gotten back on a good foot. You know, we have to have that wraparound. So I think all those together is that gumbo of success that we're talking about. I think that's needed moving forward. Young people, people who are in their 40s, people who are in their 60s, it has to be a multi-generational approach. It can't be just one standard way because you have 14-year-olds pulling triggers. You got 60-year-old pulling triggers.
That's right.
So we have to have that approach, and I hopefully and prayerfully believe that's one of the solutions. But we have to get behind God, and on top of that,
All right.
well, we got a big brother program going on with EME where older gentlemen from the hood like us, OGs, teaching the young men how to be young men, how to give them other ways to handle their business and carry themselves. We also got the rite of passage program that's coming along where you teach a young man how to dress for an interview. You teach him how to change oil. You teach him how to be a young man when he didn't have a father figure around. You be that father figure plug. You be that human plug in their life where they see a black male showing them how to do the right thing, where it becomes normalized. It becomes easy to see. It becomes easy to understand, and it becomes natural.
I agree, like he said, with EME, just being knowing that we've been out there in the streets, being incarcerated, being an example to them. Program with big brothers going out here helping the youngsters, man. And like you said, older men too. Just being giving back, being a true living witness. Brothers, big brothers.
I think we should do what we're doing. Keep doing what we're doing. Like, because it's working. You know what I'm saying? You got us here. You know what I'm saying? So I congratulate us from that. Don't stop doing what we're doing. So the programs we got is effective. We just got to get better.
Yeah.
So now we got to pick more programs that fit the communities.
Right.
Like if you got a community out here that's with our program, we took EME and we became ourselves a voice, which allowed us to become a podcast. So that's a trend in the communities. You know what I'm saying? They like podcasting, they like acting, they like movies, they like books, TikToks, social
They
media.
like clothes.
So
They like clothes.
we took those things and we made it cool, and that's what we brought to our World One, and it was able to catch the attention of our community. Now we got our kids over there trying to be like us. Now they're starting businesses. You know what I'm saying? They're coming to us, help me start a business. I want to go to school. I want to go get a trade. You know what I'm saying? So I think we just find programs that fit the people in the community. You find out what the community is lacking and what they're reaching out, why they're crying. Right now in Arkansas, I'm understanding that entertainment is everything in our city because we're trying to become like a Dallas, a Texas, a Atlanta, a California. Those cities are Philly. Those cities has had entertainment entities in there for many years, and that's something Arkansas has not had. Period. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we want. So I think if we bring more entertainment and we kind of create some more light and things for us, these communities to do, it'll calm the streets down, and we'll get a better relationship with our community, and we'll start growing from the bottom to the top.
Well, I think what all y'all said is important. People need to know that we value, the city is valued, that it's beyond the things that people, and then the other thing is we've got to stop accepting turmoil in our city. And what I mean by that is, I tell when we do statistics, I tell people that, okay, say if we had 50 homicides last year, that's not good with me. So I'm not going to say, well, we're projecting the same thing next year.
Right.
We got to stop accepting tragedy, and we have to stop accepting because of where we live, how we live. We have to put value back in our communities. Well, how you do that, Chief? Well, one of the things we do is we get into those communities and we listen. It doesn't matter your socioeconomic status. You still have a voice in this city, because no matter how minimal you think your contribution to this city is, if you buy a bag of potato chips, that bag of potato chips helps, the taxes from that help pay the salaries of these officers. So we have to we have a responsibility to value your opinion. We need to stop going to these outer areas and start focusing on these inner areas. And as police chiefs, okay, what's going on? We don't see police. Okay, why don't you see police? Well, we don't see them because you don't care. Okay, that information is taken back to my people and say, hey man, this is what people think. This is whether it's perception or reality, this is what people think. So let's start going into the areas, let's start getting out of the cars, riding the bicycles, walking, getting to know people more proactively. But when you start listening to people and hear that they have a concern, then what happens is you understand, man, Turtle a good dude. Turtle want the same thing for this area I want. You can't assume because Turtle got on a red hat, that means Turtle's a bad guy. He got a hoodie. Get to know him, and then you say, okay, what you don't realize, Turtle might be that one to help you solve a crime.
That's right.
Turtle might be the one to help you prevent a crime. Charlie Mack might be saying, Caleb might be the one to help you prevent. But we've got to start being and respect people in the community and what they bring to me. Everybody brings something to the community. Everybody has, and we have to understand that. And so that's how you fight it. That's how you, it's an all-inclusive, all one. All hands on deck, unity. Collaboration is important. Now, you hear that word? You hear that word?
That word, collaboration.
People, I don't think people really understand what that means. Diversity is not always about race and gender. It's about what you bring to the table differently. So I think that's how you do it.
That's that gumbo, Chief.
That's that gumbo.
That gumbo?
Yes, that diversity.
And you right.
Hey, I'm sorry, y'all. I gotta go. My baby needs to be kissed tonight. It's almost 9
Love
p.m.
you, bro. Love you.
I gotta kiss me on my family man and the dad. I gotta go, y'all. I love y'all.
We'll see you next week.
Yes,
Oh, for
man.
sure. Face to
Love you,
face,
Mac.
y'all. You me, baby.
I want my sweatshirt too, man.
I just wanted to say, even how you were saying, judges are looking at somebody from that side, even talking to you and being around the sheriff. What was the sheriff that came? Like, yes, Sheriff and Higgins. You wouldn't know how y'all heart is. Like the community look at the police, like, oh, the police is good. But talking to you and getting to know what your vision is, man, you'll be like, man, a person will just judge you off the title, like the chief of police, man, ain't messing with. But you got a good heart. So does Higgins, like you, good people, man.
Well, man, it's not about me.
Right.
It's about, if I'm gonna do this job, I got to realize, man, it's not about me. I got to realize where my bread and butter come from, and I got to realize why I got into this profession, where I came from. Where I came from, you didn't have a good relationship with police.
Right.
I was fortunate that my granddad did have a positive relationship with law enforcement.
Right.
And my thing was, if I ever get it from day one, I know I want to be a chief. And if I would, why you want to be a chief? Because I want to be the one that help make a difference, help
Mhm.
with the policies, help with the practices. And so I tell people all the time, I prefer you call me Keith because chief is embarrassing to me. That's
Right.
just embarrassing. You know, that
Right.
title, because I don't look at myself as chief. I look at myself as Keith. I understand the respect and the title, but I'm just, man, I'm Keith Humphrey, Darson Ashton Humphreys, baby boy from West Dallas.
Right, West
That's who I'm
Dallas.
Right,
from,
right
West
there.
Dallas.
And
you
I'd
know.
like to thank the mayor for even bringing you aboard, bro. 'Cause
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
cool, man.
Right.
Like you real.
Right.
So a lot of people in
Real
the
talk.
city,
Real
you
talk.
probably wouldn't know, but we
You
telling
see it
the
now from
city
this pocket.
from the
Well,
podcast that you
So he
real,
cool
bro. And we
people.
glad.
Yeah,
Just
some people,
real
some people have,
people.
some people
You
know
inside
what
my
I'm saying?
department have a problem with
Right.
me being just really cool, but that's okay.
That's right.
That's who I
Nah,
am.
man, you
Right.
good over here.
I'm gonna
With the
be me.
community.
Right.
You
I'm gonna
know
be
what
who
I'm
I
and that's
am.
what
I
matters.
appreciate
You're a
that.
superhero, though.
I
Yeah.
appreciate
You know what
that.
I'm saying? No matter what
Like
the
you said,
title,
positive
when you
energy.
became chief, you became a hero.
I appreciate it.
That's
You
good.
know what I'm saying?
And you
So,
guys are
Thank you.
heroes to me, man. I
you
appreciate
know what I
y'all.
mean?
Y'all are all heroes. And
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you all.
And you're a
'cause we are
hero.
kinda-
Hero.
No,
Yeah.
take that.
Yeah.
Let go.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you,
come on.
Chief. Well, Mr.
Yeah.
Keith Humphrey, thank you
Yeah.
for coming. Professor
Absolutely.
Davis,
Yes, ma'am.
Mac is gone, but
Thanks to
EME
Hunt
with
family
Turtle.
for
and-
having us.
Yes, and Charlie
Glad to
Rock
be
over
here.
there.
Glad I
Thank
came.
you, Caleb.
Um,
I want to appreciate all of you. Thank you, Alliance. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Continue collaborating. If you have not been trained on the Hope Arc system so that you can collectively make an impact, you need to get in touch with me. Get with me. You need to get trained and communicate so we can continue to help families move from crisis to career. And we're out.
Dorian, the EME.
EME.